I'm not a Christian. I'm not going to take a theological standpoint on the issue.
Okay.
But you believe that abortion across the board is always wrong.
Yes.
Even in the case where a mother is going to die.
That's not an abortion. That's a medical procedure to preserve the life of somebody. That's not an elected abortion. So I don't categorize that. That's not even categorized as an abortion.
That's considered in the national rhetoric of what an abortion is.
That's rhetoric. Laws, that's not according to. That's not according to when you go to the hospital and your life is in danger. They have to make an emergency procedure. They're not asking you for your consent either. So they're going to make an emergency procedure to save somebody's life. That's not an abortion. We're talking about elective abortions.
Okay.
We're not talking about a medical procedure.
Then
I'm saying a medical procedure to preserve somebody's life.
There are still laws that would restrict.
There's no law to restrict. There is no law on the books that restricts somebody, a doctor, if it's going to save the woman's life, to make an operation that will preserve life. A doctor is not going to say, "Oh, I guess you got to die." That's not even on the ballot of a conversation. If a doctor is making a medical decision to preserve life, they have an obligation to do so. That's not an elected abortion. That's not even considered an abortion. Now, if you want to talk about a person saying, well, I think I might get sick, or I think I might have a complication, so I want to have an abortion ahead of time, that's a different conversation. Other than a woman who's at a hospital and she's having a medical emergency and they have to abort the child in order to save her life. That's a different argument. We're talking about elected abortions. We're talking about a woman saying, I have a propensity for this type of blood disease, or the pregnancy could be high risk, so I'm just going to have an abortion. Or a person who's saying, I got pregnant, oops, I'm sorry, I don't like that guy no more, I want to have an abortion. Or a woman who gets raped, says, I'm pregnant, I don't want this child, I'm going to have an abortion. I think that in any of those cases, outside of a medical procedure, I think that that's not the right decision to have an abortion.
Why?
It's multiple reasons why. I don't think that a kid deserves to be killed because it could be perceived inconvenient for a short span of time. My grandmother was 12 years old and she had my mother. My mother deserved life. My grandfather was a bad person. That doesn't mean that my mother should be killed because he was a bad person. My mother was, obviously she was birthed. She had me and my brother. Look at the impact that we've been able to make. That's why I think it's always the better decision to not have an abortion.